When was the last time Oprah actually spent time hanging out with a working class person in America? She's on her Montecito estate with one of the most beautiful mansions known to man. And that is why she did not follow up with Kamala Harris in response to that stupid gun question with, well, you're on camera saying that you favor mandatory gun buybacks. So how would that work? The Oprah enthusiasm worked when it was genuine.
Shortly after the Oscars, a 3.9 magnitude earthquake rocked LA. The tremors were so powerful, Oprah's ass is still moving. Why would you laugh at that? That's fat shamers.
Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly took that crown, threw it in a blender, and hit expose. Oprah was untouchable, the queen of couch confessions, book clubs, and car giveaways. Gutfeld came in swinging with sarcasm so sharp it could cut through a vision board, while Megyn brought the kind of cold precision that made Oprah look less like a media mogul and more like a motivational meme gone wrong. What did they uncover? Let's just say the empires got cracks.
When she first hit the scene in like the 1980s and she was fresh out of Chicago, she was in Chicago for the launch of her national talk show, she was something electric and interesting and authentic, you know? I miss fat Oprah. She was just genuine. Now this thin Ozempic Oprah has lost, along with the pounds, her heart, her sense of authenticity. And what we're getting these days is this cleansed, elite, billionaire version who wants to scrub the record of facts.
It's true, the Harris interview did feel like a very special episode of Oprah, but instead of everybody getting a new car, everybody got an aneurysm.
After selling self-help fairy tales, wrapped in gold leaf for a few decades, you would think that Oprah Winfrey would have retired to her Mount Olympus of curated authenticity. However, she is still here, and somehow she managed to annoy both Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly into tag-teaming the delusion with the force of a wrecking ball dipped in sarcasm. Winfrey once told a room full of billionaires that being rich is hard, and somehow no one laughed her off the stage. That alone should have earned her a Lifetime Comedy Award.
We had a week of women getting up there and trying to get us to feel sorry for them. To Oprah, literally one of the richest people, forget women, one of the richest people on earth, and talk about, in part, the misogyny and racism she's faced from the country that made her a $2.6 billion.
Oprah has become a walking contradiction surrounded by designer contradictions because, according to her fans, when she speaks, birds allegedly cry, flowers bloom, and stock markets fluctuate. However, in recent years, her spiritual TED Talks have begun to sound more like a parody of themselves, with her attempting to sell the American dream with a $900 moisturizer and launching new wellness initiatives that cost more than a semester at Harvard.
5 words, Oprah's list of favorite things. So Oprah released her annual list of favorite things, and as usual, there are lots of expensive stuff. $1,000 pizza oven, $590 drip coffee maker, $80 of luxury salt. Sadly, no proposal from Stedman.
Megyn Kelly then arrives with her trademark "I'm over this squint" and years of journalistic trauma to savagely mock the Empress of Empathy. Since Oprah has fully entered the sacred region of inadvertent self-parody from giving folks vehicles to giving them existential crises packaged in branding deals, you could practically feel the Botox freeze across Hollywood when Megyn pointed out the hypocrisy.
Do you think she went over this first to make sure it wasn't too extravagant?
You're missing the best one!
What?
Okay, it is a little journal and it's called I'm Dead, Now What? Important information on my belongings, business affairs, and wishes. Hand this to someone at Christmas, I dare you!
With the subtlety of a WWE promo and the vigor of someone who recently learned that Oprah was charging for $100 for a gratitude journal, the same woman who once turned sobbing on a couch into an Empire Gutfeld, meanwhile, arrived with a verbal sledgehammer instead of a scalpel. Now, he wants to lecture the struggling middle class on how they should be thankful for their suffering.
Oprah's an icon who, unlike traditional politicians, could match a wild card like Donald Trump. And if she won, she could give everyone a free car. how different is that really from most Democrats?
It's almost cute how she acts as though we forgot that she is the same person who spent decades curating her own television church, persuading millions of people that all problems could be resolved with a therapist, a gentle voice, and 30 minutes of non-stop commercial breaks. Oprah doesn't create poverty. Instead, she gathers it like it's vintage, turns other people's suffering into Emmy-winning material, and then sells it to them along with pricey herbal tea and motivational quotes. Megyn Kelly didn't like it, and it's like watching a Kardashian provide farming advice while Oprah acts like she's still in contact with actual people. The cosmic disconnect. We can learn more about resilience from this woman who travels with a group of personal chefs, stylists, wellness experts, and perhaps an emotional support yacht. In a heartfelt statement, Oprah remarked that individuals should just be themselves. She hasn't been herself since the mid-1990s and is now more brand than human. A multi-million-dollar production featuring 5 camera angles and a fragrance line, Oprah's image is protected by a legal team, and a whole crew is devoted to filtering the lighting on her life.
Her schoolgirl affectations and body movements. Like, okay, ready? Here it is. Like, okay. She raises herself off her chair. Like, I'm just really excited. I'm really excited about this. Okay.
You're so right.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something you haven't heard yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to blow your mind.
Okay. Like that.
Right.
The woman who once claimed to be merely a Mississippi girl now lives in a mansion with its own zip code and probably needs a Sherpa guide to get from the kitchen to the indoor spa. Gutfeld had a field day attacking her as if she had just supported kale-flavored air. There is a certain tone deafness to standing in front of a homeless shelter wearing a $5,000 coat and talking about the human condition as if it were a design trend. Megyn, however, Oprah's most recent stunt, her humanitarian documentary the one where she travels into the world of the downtrodden with a camera crew, makeup team, and more lighting than a Marvel movie was what really sent this roast into the stratosphere. As if anyone needed a reminder that the world is unfair, Kelly called her out on it without even blinking. She attacked Oprah's emotional exploitation as though it was a bad script, but in reality, the woman literally created sadness, packaging it with dramatic scores and selling it as awareness. Oprah was the star of this aesthetic's despair.
Got to talk about the failure of the celebrity. Oprah Winfrey, you have no power. You do not have any control over this electorate. Neither do you, J-Lo. Let's take a look at Oprah's final closing message on the campaign trail.
We don't get to sit this one out. If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again. We are voting to save ourselves from this precipice of danger.
Even the donations had a price tag, she added, but assistance always came with a plug. Oprah doesn't support causes or provide brands. Instead, she makes money off of them. Her charity is a business strategy. Every tragedy she visits turns into a meticulously planned public relations effort. Rather than resolving issues, she is gathering material. As if he were picking apart a fish, Greg Gutfeld made a joke about Oprah's outreach strategy being flying first class to a catastrophe area and then charging for the motivational audio book afterwards. To be honest, he wasn't entirely incorrect. Hollywood sanctimony permeates the entire situation. Oprah's empire is based on emotions, and she manipulates them like Mozart played the piano. She is the queen of televised trauma and a maestro of misery, orchestrating feel-good moments with all the sincerity of a Vegas magician. You almost have to admire the grift. It's elegant, relentless, and incredibly profitable. Nothing says I care like stepping over debris in couture heels, while your assistant applies lip gloss in between takes.
I looked at this list, and you know what wasn't on there? Anything about Maui. right? At one point in time, she and The Rock made that video to try to help out everybody who was hurt by the fire. And then that was just quickly discarded. She's like, okay, that didn't work. Who wants slippers? You want slippers. You get a pair of slippers. You're all getting slippers.
Do you think she was?
Megyn wasn't finished, though. She pulled out the receipts as if it were Black Friday and tore up Oprah's whole list of inconsistencies, such as the fact that she constantly advocates for balance while actually managing more companies than a hedge fund, or that she consistently promotes self-love while still marketing goods that make you feel inferior until you purchase more. It's a spiritual hustle wrapped in silk. Greg went on to say that Oprah's book club could as well be dubbed mandatory reading for future disappointment, because every book she chooses is either a memoir about trauma, a philosophical digression, or something so emotionally taxing that you need therapy afterwards. However, it's all presented as enlightenment, as if moping in fictional despair is some sort of moral accomplishment. And let's not even talk about her political hot takes. Oprah's endorsements are like celebrity horoscopes, which are vaguely irrelevant and somehow still make people uneasy. She dabbles in politics like a hot tub, just enough to create a stir but never enough to get wet, because she wants the cloud of activism without the responsibility. She is praised as a visionary after just one speech and appearance, but real changemakers are disregarded because they lack a skincare. By pointing out that Oprah's activism had all the depth of a Hallmark card, Megyn dispelled that illusion. She is the queen of safe rebellion and a protester in pearls, and she represents hope and change in the same way that air represents breathing.
I used to love Oprah, like most of us who grew up when we did. And only now did I realize I've been getting spoon-fed propaganda from this woman for years. I always took her little setup packages as gospel. You know, before I was a reporter, I never even thought to question whether Oprah might be intentionally misleading me. Then last night, the dawn came and I was like, oh my God, she is not a reporter. She's a propagandist. She's trying to shove messaging down my throat of whatever she believes, not what's...
Then there's Oprah's obsession with dieting, rebirth, and reinvention, as if she were a gluten-based phoenix. Every few years, she declares a new spiritual awakening, usually accompanied by a 3-part documentary and a line of supplements, but each time it's the same tale. She ends up back where she was before, between a Weight Watchers deal and a picturesque retreat in Maui. Gutfeld was quick to point this out, joking that Oprah's career has been a constant reinvention of her own identity. She changes identities more frequently than most people change their Wi-Fi passwords, going from being a weight loss warrior to a spiritual guru to hosting roundtables about racial healing with the subtlety of a fortune cookie. Despite this, she maintains that she is relatable, acting as though the typical American has the luxury of taking a vacation from their soul-searching journey because their private chef called in sick. It is exhausting to watch her act as though she is still involved in the day-to-day struggles. Her interpretation of roughing it most likely involves delays in room service. Megyn reminding everyone that Oprah's world is not ours. Kelly tore this facade apart, cutting through the fluff like a hot knife through branded vegan butter. Her hardships are staged, edited for prime time, and softened with piano music.
Tyrus, so you got salt, you got cheese, you got pizza.
I'm going to stop you there.
Yes.
I treat this like the list I get from my kids. They send me emails because they know when I laugh in their face, it hurts. Anyone who wants a $1,000 pizza oven, you're going to get what Kat picked out. Like, that's the greatest gift you can give somebody, because you can't return it. Because returning it, oh, you think you're immortal? You think you're better than us? Like, get your affairs in order. That's the great, you stole the show. They wanted me to talk about a dog towel. That is, towel's a towel. Great job. That's the best gift ever. And Oprah has never read this, just like I don't read the list for my kids send me.
Despite this, Oprah continues to portray herself as the voice of the people. She is a millionaire who somehow feels that she speaks for the underdog, much like Jeff Bezos when he claims to understand warehouse workers after reading an article about hurting feet. Greg Gutfeld concluded by stating what everyone else is scared to acknowledge: Oprah isn't empowering anyone. Instead, she's selling the appearance of empowerment while wearing pastels and a lot of affirmations. She's mastered the art of saying nothing while sounding profound. It's all tone, no content, no sparkle, and no substance, and perhaps the biggest irony is that people still purchase it. Millions cling to her words as if they were sacred, forgetting that every aha moment is preceded by a product launch and a marketing team. Oprah is a market, not a movement. She is more of a lifestyle option, like yoga pants with personality, than a leader. Megyn and Greg destroyed Oprah out of frustration rather than retaliation because it's like watching a movie that never ends, even though the plot has been exhausted for years, as she continues to play the role of Mother Earth while earning big paychecks from corporate heaven.
Oprah didn't help by sort of saying it's cheating. What do you mean it's cheating? It's a drug that helps people control their appetite. How is that cheating? So she was probably on the wrong side of things when she was saying that. And now I think she was sort of forced to admit, because as you say, it's obvious. Somebody like Oprah who's constantly up and down with the weight and hasn't been on the skinnier side for a long time. And then suddenly, after this miracle drug comes out, like, we know. But she's still a spokesperson for Weight Watchers, and I guess she's going to still tell us that the point system is really what's behind the weight.
Most people are just trying to pay rent before their next existential crisis. But don't worry, there's probably a $29.99 book in Oprah's club for that too. Next time she tells you to embrace the journey, remember hers comes with assistants, therapists, and Instagram filters powerful enough to resurrect Cleopatra. Oprah doesn't walk through hardship, she glides, trailed by camera crews and monogrammed. Herbal mist, her empathy is pre-scheduled, her compassion perfectly lit. Kelly's takedown wasn't critique, it was a public unmasking. She exposed the empire of faux inspiration for what it is, a shrine to image management. And Greg, he bulldozed it all with punchlines sharp enough to make the lighting crew flinch. It's staggering, a billionaire selling resilience from a chaise lounge while the rest of us dodge bills and potholes. These self-help sermons don't motivate, their melodrama in Louboutins. Worst of all, Oprah still thinks she's relatable, like her neighbors aren't hedge funds. Welcome to the gospel according to wealth.